All right, we are joined today by a good friend of mine, coaching buddy that I met when I was coaching down at Gulf Coast, Brock Moss. How's it going, man?
It's going good, Jerka. How are you, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. So we met on I think we met on the recruiting trail, and then kind of we would talk whenever we played each other for the couple of years there. But you're originally from you said you're from Louisiana. Then you went to high school. You're a Texas boy. And you ended up playing Juco yourself up in Chicago. What was that year like of Juco ball and playing up north where we're from?
So it's definitely different, man. Going from a southern boy where, actually, believe it or not, out in Houston, Texas, February games were actually pretty cold. We had a few 29, 30, 35-degree games, but by the end of
Those are our
February.
playoff games up here.
No, yeah, exactly. But by the end of February, you're playing in 55, 65, and it doesn't even matter anymore. But it was kind of different experience all the way around. Loved my time in Chicago. People were awesome. Food was awesome. Doing the tourist stuff was really cool for a year. But definitely a different world. Just baseball was kind of played a little different, and just playing in the cold and having to adjust to a different style of baseball. Not to say that there's not power baseball anywhere around, but a lot in Texas, it's, whether it's high school, junior college ball, Division I ball in Texas, it's power baseball. You're going to see power arms, you're going to see power bats. And that's kind of what the game was based around. So, getting up in my JC and just kind of really for the first time actually having to, see more than just one facet of baseball. It was really good as a player, especially now coming in the coaching world, but it was definitely something that I had to adjust to, now having to really watch out for teams, that are going to steal every attempt they can get, and hit and run and bunt. And, shifts weren't that modern at that time, so it wasn't something I really saw, but just, really playing a different style of offensive baseball than I was used to. So it was definitely an adjustment trying to pitch to that too. Trying to figure some things out as an 18-year-old.
Yeah. So you go 1 year there, then you end up in an NAIA school in Kansas. You have a successful career there. What is something like I always try to explain to people, like NAIA ball is a lot better than people understand. You want to kind of touch on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm 29 now, so 7 years removed from playing, and being in the junior college route, I see guys go to NAIA baseball. I've made a lot of friends and in the NAIA world, and I would actually think NAIA baseball is even better now. My head coach that I played for at Sterling has now moved on to Southeastern University, where he took them to the national title a couple of years ago. They're down in Lakeland, Florida, and the year they won the national title, they had 6 guys drafted and had 4 signees drafted. So they had 10 total players of a quote unquote recruiting class drafted. And the guy he started in the national championship game was 94, 98.
Right.
So while I was at Sterling, like even then, NAIA baseball was starting to get a lot better. Our number 1 was a Louisiana Lafayette kickback that was 90-93. Our number 4, was a JC All-American that year, the year before, and he was up to 95 at times. So like we had a legit
Right.
rotation. Our starting shortstop was drafted out of JC. Like we had a lot of really good talent, and even just in our conference, that year we played Tabor, which is our conference rival. They had a big old donkey named Alex Webb, and that guy was in the big leagues with the Braves last year, chucking 95, 98.
Right.
So you just come across a lot of really good baseball. The team that eliminated us, without going on too much more, Oklahoma City that year, they had the NAIA National Player of the Year, Miguel Beltran. He was drafted by the Rays. He hit 29 jacks and had like 100 RBIs. Their number three, who eliminated us in the regional final was a Oklahoma University transfer that was 94 from the left side.
Yeah.
Their number 1, Blake Schwartz, went in the first, or was there the first NAIA player taken that year. And he was in AA by the end of the summer.
Right.
So like we had legit talent. I mean, just throughout the NAIA that year. And, I think it's even better now.
Right. Yeah, I think that's something that gets kind of a lot of people think, oh, NAI, that's like below Division III. It's like, no, it's just like maybe a guy doesn't have the greatest grades, or just got maybe a little bit of trouble, because there's a lot of scholarship money in NAIA ball and stuff, and it's the talent level is pretty damn good. But so I just want to touch on that for a second. And so you finish up your career, you get right into coaching. When did that become an idea that maybe you wanted to do that? Was that kind of always something you wanted to do? Was it late in your career and you wanted to stay around baseball? How did that kind of come about?
So it was not for me something that I always kind of knew I wanted to do. In high school, I kind of floated around a couple ideas, some things that I liked in life, and I was kind of really set on being a game warden. I love to hunt, love to fish. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily good at. I like to do them, and at the time I was trying to figure out, what would be the best route and avenue for me, and it kind of came down to two decisions. I was either going to take my opportunity coming off of a senior season surgery in high school to keep playing baseball, or go to Sam Houston State, which is about 45 minutes down the road from where my folks lived, and enter one of the best forensic programs in the entire country and start the game warden track. And at that point, at 18 years old, I was like, well, shit, I'm not done playing baseball, especially not from a surgery. So I chose to take my loan offer to go play junior college baseball. And, I ended up moving on to Sterling, like you said, after that. And I had a second surgery within 3 years. And it was kind of during that time where my surgery was almost through recovery, but was still enough that I had to sit at practice and just kind of watch and kind of, just pick people's brains and do some things. And it was about that time that I had figured out that, I don't want to leave baseball.
Right.
And, from that point on, I had pretty much kind of made the decision that I was going to attack it with every chance I got. As long as I could financially afford to coach, I was going to do it. And, I was fortunate enough. I got a job right out of college, and, I've just been doing it ever since.
Right. Okay. So that was funny. You kind of touched about, as long as I can financially, afford to do so. That's me and Sarah always laugh, because like one hand of people, Sarah says like, oh, Jericho's a baseball coach, to think, oh, he's like a little league coach, he volunteers his time, that's great. And the other hand thinks like I'm making like $1 million a year to coach. But there's not a lot of money, like when you're talking smaller programs, junior college, Division III. A lot of those guys aren't getting a lot of money, especially the assistant coaches, and it's really a grind to fight through that. And it really test out how much you like baseball, how much you want to stay into it, doing that especially when you're first starting out. So your first year out, you get a job at you said a school in Arkansas, right?
Yeah, it was Ecclesia College, and second year only school, NCCAA only, National Christian College Athletic Association. So handful of schools there. The school had like 150 students. Like I said, I was hungry. I knew I wanted to coach. An opportunity I had accepted before fell through, unfortunately. So it led me to taking the Ecclesia job. And man, I worked for $400 a month in an apartment, in a meal plan in a cafeteria where, rough meals, but they were free meals, and just moved, from there, and like you said, it's one of those things where some people don't really understand, how much you actually make. Year one, like I said, I'm making $400 a month. Year four, which was actually my first year at my current job, Georgia Highlands, I was making $20,000 a year to try to live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
And Atlanta's a town where the poverty line is like $16,000, $17,000. So, I'm barely making what would be above the poverty line, but I was in a fortunate situation where, My now wife was my fiance at the time, and she was willing to make a move, and fortunately found a job that was going to allow us to pay bills and allow me to keep chasing, the coaching gig. But yeah, man, unless you're lucky to get in a good Division I setup, or a head coaching job at one of the lower level schools, Division II's NAI is where you're really going to be taken care of. You got to work pretty hard for a little amount of money.
Yeah. So I don't want to skip over. You're at Andrew, which is a junior college in Georgia. That's where you were when we met. You had said before we started recording that like your Juco that you went to in uh, Illinois, not a lot of people moved on to play after that. Like coach didn't do a lot, didn't do a lot of helping to help guys move on. So when you got to Andrew, what was that? Was that kind of an eye opener for you a little bit? Did you enjoy the part of coaching where even though you're there trying to win, you're also trying to help the guys improve so they can find a 4-year school to go to?
Absolutely, and I mean it's still something that, to this day, that I enjoy. It's a lot of work because it's not like the 4-year level where you're just recruiting guys, and then you don't do anything else with them outside of the development and normal coaching and all the other things you try to do. Well, now you add the dimension in, that you're now recruiting for the guys,
Right.
and calling different schools around the country, and trying to help get those guys potential offers and fits. And it's definitely something I enjoy because you see the work every day that these guys put, and the amount of development that they do in 2 years, and sometimes 3 years if a guy's a red shirt. And just to see those guys be able to have that next step, especially with all the reasons that guys come to junior college in the first place, which typically is 3 reasons, whether that be they don't have the offers they want initially out of high school, or may have a couple Division I offers, but financially can't afford it. So they come to junior college because it's a cheaper route, and, try to get that extra financial backing on the back end, whether they unfortunately mess something up, or, they don't have the classroom uh, requirements to go NCAA right away. So just to see everything that goes in with those guys, that come to junior college for those reasons, it's really rewarding for you as a coach, especially when you're invested in those guys, when you're in it for the right reason, because it's about the people. That's, without the people you don't win, you don't have a job. And it's just super rewarding to see those guys finally, see those fruits come to fruition after all that time.
Right. I always thought like you had to manage it a little bit, but it was nice because uh, they were still working like for something. Like there was, I'm working for like, yeah, we're trying to help the team win, but I'm also pushing myself to get better because I'm trying to get recruited. But there's also we have to once in a while reel them back in, like, hey, we still got to focus here. Like we got stuff going on here. We're trying to win these games. It's not always just about moving on. So it was kind of like a balancing act of it's good because it keeps them hungry, but we also have to keep them focused. So you find that as some once in a while that comes up with you,
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. And it really depends on the guy.
right?
We've had, you know, whether it be a high school guy, a transfer guy that comes in, they're kind of coming in with the mindset of, hey, like, I'm here for 1 year, man. Like, I'm going to perform and I'm going to move on. So it's definitely that balance act where, you're telling them, hey, yeah, I get you, and I'm with you. But if we're not good, you don't move on.
Right.
So we've got to take care of the things here that we need to take care of, so you do have those opportunities to move on. And like, man, you've been there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you do everything you can to balance that act, and create that culture that you want to have every day.
Right. So you're at Angelo for a couple years. Now you're at Georgia Highlands, which is it's a little bit north of Georgia, like or north side of Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Up there, and you got a sweet setup for your home games. Kind of everybody knows the Lake Point, which is used to be the Perfect Game facility. It's now PBR owns it. You got 8 turf fields right there at the one location. That's where you guys play all your home games, right?
Yeah, it's where we practice every day too, So sometimes in August it can be a little brutal when that turf is kind of melting on your feet there. But yeah, man, it's really hard to find a better facility in the Southeast, maybe even in the entire country, honestly. For a lot of reasons, not just the fields itself, being turf, you're not going to run into a lot of weather issues. I mean, we had a February series this year where it snowed. Like we legitimately had snow on the ground at 2:30
Yeah.
p.m. in the afternoon, and we had a 5 o'clock start game with no snow.
Yeah.
So, we didn't even have to blink about not being able to play today. But the other awesome thing that comes along with Lake Point is it's the travel mecca. As you kind of mentioned, being the perfect game and now the PBR. So everybody from the scouting world, whether that's professional scouts, whether that's 4-year scouts, or even JUCO scouts, they know what Lake Point is. They know how to get to Lake Point, and it's easy to get to Lake Point. If you have to fly in, it's a quick, easy 30-minute drive from the airport. If you're driving itself the entire trip, it's pretty much all interstate depending on where you're coming from. So you always have the opportunity to have eyes on you. I mean, we're fortunate at one point this year, during just an inter squad week, we had 6 different pro guys come out. We had like 7 Division twos, couple Division 1s, 4 NAIAs, and this was all for like 2 inter squad games,
Right.
because it's so easy to get to, that a lot of guys are willing to come out and watch.
Right. And then I think I have this right. You guys play a lot of home games, mostly because everybody wants to come there to play you guys, like non-conference and stuff.
Yeah, so we typically have anywhere from 38 to 41 home games before playoffs. So, not bad considering it's a 56 game schedule. The only time we travel, man, is like maybe 1 or 2 not midweeks, non-conference that coaches kind of agreed, ahead of time. And other than that, it's just conference travel.
Right. So that's pretty nice, at least. All the
Yeah.
long bus rides. And you guys have had quite a bit of success there. I think if I not that they were bad before, but they were kind of just starting their ascent when you got there, and you guys have really built on that in your time there.
So not really to speak bad on the other staff, but we took over a program never had a winning season.
Right.
The best season in school history. They won 25 games. They had made a couple conference tournaments in the 3 or 4 seasons that they were there, but at the time, it was as the last seed
Right.
possible, and they had never won a conference tournament game in those conference tournaments. They got bounced right away, 2-Q. So we took over a program that didn't really have a lot of success when you dug deep into it outside the playoff, um, and didn't really have where things are now.
Right.
But we've just finished our 4th year, and fortunately we have been able to do some good things, man. We've averaged 34 wins a season already. We've moved on 55 players as of today, which is 100% advancement rate for us. We've averaged a team GPA of 3.11. Every kid we've had has graduated, and one regional title, and in the 4 years we've been here, we've been ranked inside the National Junior College Association polls in 3 of the 4 seasons. So, and last year we had the first ever All-American in school history, first ever Region Player of the Year. So, hopefully that bids well for future success and some things
Right.
we've been built. But, definitely trying to work hard to make those things happen.
Yeah. So now we'll kind of start getting into your side of it. You're the pitching guy there, mostly correct. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you work with,
Yep.
right? So, you want to talk about, and I know it's kind of a really broad subject, like with probably your first answer is get hitters out, but kind of talk about your pitching philosophy that you guys go with at school there.
So it's really easy for us, man. And of course, obviously we want guys that are going to get guys out, but we tell guys from the get-go, our head coach included, the only way you're going to pitch here is if you throw strikes. So we have about a 10-step plan of attack that I guess you can call our pitching philosophy as a staff.
Right.
But really where we make our most money is the first 3 or 4 steps. And that's throw first pitch strike, throw the first 2 or 3 in the strike zone. If you have a shot to strike out a guy, you get 1 pitch to do it and you move on. And that's really only 0-2, 1-2. Other than that, we're trying to put, the hitter in a situation he's got to swing.
Right.
And that's, like I said, really where most of our money is being lived. And if you walk guys, and you can go back and look at, our stats for the last 4 years, and I love him to death and I still talk to him, but Noah Bryant was a perfect example of a guy that, when we say, if you don't throw strikes, you're not going to pitch, he's a guy that went in the 17th round, was 98 mile an hour in May, and that guy threw 20 innings on the entire year.
Right.
He just didn't throw enough strikes. And, like this year, our number one, or Friday guy, should I say, I guess statistically he wasn't our number one, but our number one this year threw 84, 87. But he was 4 pitch for strikes. He was the same guy every time out. You knew what you were going to get. And that's what we preach, man. It's throw strikes or don't pitch.
Right.
We're going to teach you how to do everything else, but it really comes down to the nuts and bolts of that's it. We're going to win the freebie war and we're going to make you beat us.
Right. That's when I was at UF, they had 3 things. It used to be first pitch strike, 2 out of the first 3, and then get out of the inning 15 pitches or less. So it was all like attack mode, like just boom. I think a lot of times kids, they get like, maybe you'll get a kid 0-2. I'm going to throw a fastball, waste a fastball outside to try to get him to chase. Well, you throw an 8-inch off the plate. The kid's not even going to attempt to swing. And they're going to throw a curveball and it's going to bounce in front of the plate. And it's knocked to 2-2. Now your pitch count's just like rising up. So I think like I've always wanted kids just attack, trust your defense, and let's go. Is that kind of you guys pitching? And you're not pitching to hard, like pitching to weak contact. Is that kind of what you're asking them to do?
Oh, absolutely. And, I'm 100% a guy that's not against the punch outs. I've done the research. I know at least at the junior college level, the NAI level, and the Division I levels, a certain number of strikeouts a year you hit, there's a really good chance you're probably going to be playing in a World Series. And that number is typically 500 to 600, depending on your level. So I'm not against the punch outs. I want us to punch guys out, but it goes back to exactly like you're just talking about. We're going to put you in a situation that we hope you get the chance to punch somebody out, but if you don't do it, we're not going to sit there and continue to try to punch this guy out, because that actually leads into that 4th point of attack that, I didn't mention earlier, but it's avoid the 2-2 count, because we're trying to avoid ball 3 at all costs. Right. So, we're not going to jump on a kid, if he gives up an 0-2 or 1-2, base hit, unless it's just a really bad pitch and we're like, hey man, be a little smarter here. We don't want you to pipe, a belt high fastball down the middle 0-2, but we want you to throw a competitive pressure zone pitch, because we don't want you to dance and sit there and throw 2 pitches a guy's not even going to swing at, much less, even blink about what could be coming up next. If we're throwing something with a purpose where we're, a competitive breaking ball that ends up 2 balls off the plate to see if we can get that chase, and we don't, and we follow that up right away with that fastball in the same plane, same zone that ends up 1-2 balls off. Well, now we've given that guy something to think about, because he said the same tunnel and, the same exact placement that are in pressure zones. It's not completely wasted. So sorry for the long answer, but yeah, absolutely, man. We're going to stay on attack. We want you to be efficient. You've got to get efficient outs. If you can get the punch out, get it, but we're not going to sit there and dance, because before you know it, that's how you end up 2-2, 3-2 on everybody. You end up with 20 pitch innings, whether, you might not give up any runs or even any base runners. And that was actually an adjustment one of our starters had to make this year. was a guy that his first few outings, he threw 65 pitches in 3 innings, but he gave up 1 run in those 3 innings. He's like, "Coach, I pitched pretty well." And I'm like, "No, you didn't.
Right.
You're throwing the same amount of pitches. I need you to throw in 4, if not 5 innings, and
Right.
give up the same amount of runs." And he's like, "Well, Coach, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that." And I'm like, "Perry, you're great at 0-2, man. But the moment you get 0-2, I know somebody's 2-2 or 3-2 because you tried to do too much."
Right.
With him, the moment it clicked that it was, if my stuff is good enough, I can get you out in the zone.
Right.
So all I have to do is throw a pitch that will make you believe you have to swing, and I'm going to get the results I need. And the moment he did that, man, it just like his season took off. And, he finished the season, unfortunately, before COVID shut us down with like 3 straight starts of 75 pitches in 6 innings. And,
Right.
like he was just mowing. And ironically, the strikeouts were no worse. And in those last 3 outings, in terms of strikeouts per inning, they actually went up.
Right. So I want to talk about something. I want to jump back to something you touched on. I don't think a lot of people talk about this, at least at a lower level, like not at an advanced level. Tunneling and the tunnel of the release point of where the ball comes out. And tunneling is having how repeatable your release point is in your delivery. So, like as a hitter, if I'm seeing a ball come out here and it's coming straight, usually it's a fastball. You get guys with a bad curveball, and the ball kind of jumps out of their hand and comes up. Like I know Josh Hader's #1 major leagues with his tunneling, where the fastball slider is always coming out basically the same spot. So if that's coming in halfway to the plate and it's exactly the same, okay, that looks like a fastball to me. I start my swing and then boom, I get it's a slider or it's a changeup. Is that something you guys consciously work on about trying to repeat that release point? And how do you do that? Is it TrackMan? Is it or Rapsodo, or what are you guys using for that?
So we're fortunate enough, we do have TrackMan at Lake Point. It's something that I would necessarily say I don't harp on. I'm not up there checking every pitch to
Right.
see our exact release height, our exact extension point. And I found at our level, at least, I I think it takes away from the concentration of guys. If they're really trying to concentrate on where the ball is coming out. I talk more about shapes and late movement.
Okay.
And that seems to help some guys. So what I mean by that is, like, I don't want my curveball and my slider to have the same shape, but
Right.
I want them to have the same late movement. So I want it to look like a fastball as long as I can.
Right.
Um, and I want that ball to move as late as possible, hopefully right when it gets to the box. Because then it's moving in the last 3 to 4 feet before the plate. And, by focusing on that, I feel like it has helped our guys at Highlands at least, you
Mhm.
know, come with the grips of, hey, I need to throw this harder, I need to do this, I need to do that. Rather than really focusing on, you know, where the ball's coming out. I kind of,
So you're
and
basically you're asking them, we're gonna rep it out and get this result, and you need to feel what the difference is to make that adjustment.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, I don't want to overwhelm a guy where it
Right.
becomes to the point where he's worrying exactly, if that hand is, 6 inches
Which
not far
degree?
enough, or the
Right.
hand,
Yeah.
is turned this degree. I want us to just kind of have the feel of, yeah, coach, I'm in the same spot. I'm doing this, and then we're gonna look at the ball
Right.
and say, hey, the ball kind of matches what you're saying. And if it's not, well, hey, let's adjust that feel. What are we doing here? What are we doing there? Rather than really trying to throw a whole bunch of numbers, that, and not to even knock junior college, but throw a whole bunch of numbers at 18, 19 year olds
Right.
that have a lot of development room, that don't necessarily need to be touching on that because they're not at the floor of development that they really need to be to be able to be their own pitching coach and
Right.
make that adjustment themselves.
Right. It's like Bauer with his like Edgertronics cameras and stuff. Like, yeah, that's fine. He's a 29-year-old physics major that all he does all day is work on that. He doesn't have to go to class. He's not, it's like it's a little different than I like kids like your age, like your age group, my age group that I'm coaching. Hey, we're gonna try to make it do this. You have to feel that. Like you have to be able to harness. Like, okay, that felt like this. I need to be able to repeat it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something I preach to the guys a lot. I use the phrase "be your own pitching coach." Like, yes,
Right.
I'm here for you, but there's one thing I will promise you that will always be constant in your junior college career at Georgia Highlands, and that 100% statement that will be true to the day that I die is that I will never ever throw a pitch for you. So
Right.
I don't know what you're feeling, only you do. So you have to get to the point where you can know, hey, I ripped this slider way outside. Well, my wrist was under it and I felt that release point come across my face rather than on my arm side of my body, and just things like that. So it's really, like you said, trying to get those guys to understand how they're feeling the
Right.
best we can without giving them, too much information that might be way further than what they're developmentally capable of. And I'm glad you brought Bauer up, because he's a guy I do enjoy listening to, and he's probably as smart as a damn rocket scientist.
Right.
Um, but that's also a guy that he went to arguably the best of the best at Division I baseball and was a top 3 overall pick. So, that guy's development ceiling at the time, is way, way further ahead than guys that we're dealing with.
Right. For sure. Now, so obviously, from talking to you, velocity is not the number one thing. Like we used to at UF, they used to say location, movement, velocity in that order. And I feel like that's kind of something that you agree with. But obviously, the harder you throw, the better because it covers up mistakes. So, do you guys train velocity? And if you do, is it long toss, drive line, J bands? Like, what are you guys kind of doing for that?
So actually, man, we follow the same model, and that's the first thing we tell the guys, and kind of one of the breakdowns that I get the guys when we have this talk, is you have to understand who you are as a pitcher,
Mm.
know your money. And, if I'm not 100-mile-an-hour guy, then why would I ever try to just go on velocity?
Right.
If I'm a Roldis Chapman, by all means, buddy, buckle up. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Best on best. If you get me, I'm going to tip my cap. If I have Greg Maddux type movement on a fastball, well, why would I worry about anything other than, hey, I'm going to throw this, 3.5-foot sinker down the middle, see if you can hit it at our level, but we don't have guys like that. We
Right.
have guys where the success is going to come from majority location first, and then the other two are going to supplement, so it's a deal where we do train velocity. We've been fortunate enough. Our average guy is about 2 to 5 mile an hour jump, per year. And that 5 mile an hour 6 mile an hour typically tends to be kind of over a career,
Right.
but it also depends on, who you are. If I'm a 78 mile an hour arm, it's obviously going to be a lot easier for me to gain 6 mile an hour than it is for somebody that's 88.
Right.
I'm already closer to my ceiling at 88 than I am at 78. So, we kind of just attack it with each guy, non-cookie cutter style.
Okay.
It is cookie cutter style in a way because of the things that I believe in,
Right.
but I give the guys the freedom to kind of cater it to themselves. So we do long toss. We do pull J bands. We do plyos for warm ups, plyos for velocities, plyos for recoveries. We do use weighted balls for a different amount of things, whether it be warm-up purposes or throwing velocities with the weighted balls, or we just get them out and just have a day where we just chuck the piss out of
Right.
the lower weights and see how hard we can throw them. But it really comes down to the guy. Some guys he is a straight, coach. I've gone to drive line. I'm going to follow the drive line protocol as close as I can. By all means, brother, it's working for you. We do have some guys where they just long toss, and they feel great long tossing. They don't want to touch plyos. They don't want to touch weighted balls. And we have some guys that are a combination. So we really just try to, find what's best for the kid, while always trying to obviously increase that velocity ceiling. I'm not doing my job if you come in at 84 and you leave at 84.
Right.
I want you to leave a lot higher in that velocity ceiling. But I say that with a caveat that it's not I'm going to dedicate my time and soul, to making you a 90-mile-an-hour arm and a 90-mile-an-hour arm only.
Right.
Like, I'm going to try to teach you to be a pitcher, and hopefully along the way you become a pitcher that throws 90.
Right.
So, we're going to do a lot of things inside the program that are pitching first.
One thing you said, if somebody comes in and they just like the long toss. They don't like weighted balls. They don't like the plyos, all that stuff. Do you just say, okay, that's fine? Or do you say, hey, that's okay, you can do that, but here's what we do? You try to educate them on it and like present them with the information? Or do you kind of just say, okay, the long toss is working for you, like how do you kind of handle that situation?
I try to take it once I understand the kid better. So this year we had a 90-93 mile an hour arm, long toss only guy, like super, super against anything weighted. And at one point I got to the point where I felt like I understood who he was, and I felt like his reasoning was, hey, coach, I've thrown hard without him. I don't want to risk the injury.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I get that. So, one day I just kind of brought him and another group of guys that had to this point not touched him. And I said, hey, how many of you guys threw a tennis ball growing up? Of course, everybody raises their hand.
Yeah.
How many guys have thrown a football? Everybody raises their hand. And I said, well, guys, what both of these have in common? I said, what, coach? I said, weighted balls. One's like 3 ounces and one's 16 ounces.
Right.
Okay. So I said, understand that. All right. That does not mean just because you throw these, you're going to blow something out. Okay. The next part, it's, how many of you guys have ever been sore just throwing a baseball? Everybody raises their hand.
Right.
I said, okay. Some of you guys, you feel a lot better when you don't throw as high of intensity with the baseball as you do lower intensity, right? And they're like, yeah, coach, obviously a lot less sore when I throw low intensity more often than high intensity. I said, okay, so what's to keep you from doing those things with the weighted ball or a plyo? Of course, everybody says nothing, coach. And I said, okay, so it's all about how you attack those things.
Right.
They can be tools to your development. And if you choose to use them properly, you might find that it actually does make you feel better, or it has a velocity help to you, or both. And at that point, like the arm that I was talking about, it was 90-92. He started using the plyos for recovery, and just tossing around like a 5 ounce, and every now and then he'd bump it up to a 7 ounce and do some tramp rebounders. And, he's like, coach, I feel great. I feel like I recover a little better, and that was something that he found worked for him. A couple other guys at that point started to warm up with some weighted balls, use a 9 ounce, then to a 7, then, to a 4 ounce, and just working different efficiencies, in terms of exertion level that they were using on them. So it's definitely just try to educate the guys, and then help them figure out, if it's a route that they want to choose. And, if so, how do we want to implement that? And for them to obviously on their part, give it a fair shake,
Right.
because it's one of those things where it's like anything else in life. If I, tell you to, go attack this at 100%, and you do it for 3 weeks and it works, and I tell other guy to go attack it at 100%, but he does it at 50% for 3 weeks and nothing changes. Well, in that guy's mind, he's like, that sucks. Well, I mean, you had one guy that did it the way he was supposed to and the other guy that didn't. So, it's just to really try to educate the guys and say, hey, give it its fair shake and then make your decision down the road.
Right. And I also found too, like with coaching, especially younger kids, if they're having success and you change something and then they start to not have success, you lose them forever. Like you never get their trust back to try to fix, you know what I mean? Like I've always found that if they're having success, you gotta kind of let them do it, and then you kind of work them through the failure more than working through the success.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it even is it's on the same side too when they're having failure. We're in such a microwave society that, got something to be fixed, so when you suggest something to a guy and he still has immediate failure, or it works for a couple of days and all of a sudden it doesn't, he's so willing to go back to what he was doing. That it's definitely that pick and choose, and it's different with every guy. I'm not going to try to mess with the guy if he's having success unless something's a major concern, in terms of like injury. But it's definitely one of those things that you have to work so hard to figure out the kid, because pitchers are so mental, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen guys, think they're good because, they wore their hat that way and wore these types of socks.
Right.
I've seen guys think they were bad because they changed up their pregame meal, So pitchers are so mental, that it's just trying to find that balancing act, and figuring out how it's going to work for the kid, and sometimes you could tell the same guy the right things in 5 different ways, but until he thinks one of those ways is his idea, then it's not going to stick with him, so it's finding, that balance of, keeping the end goal in sight, being able to break down, hey, we're failing. Here's why I think we're failing. Here's the adjustment I need us to make. Here's the adjustment I need us to keep with to see if it's going to work. And then here's the plan if it doesn't, so you're always constantly just reassuring that guy that, the end goal is what we're shooting for. And I'm not here to just tinker with you to hear myself talk or to try to act smart, know?
Yeah. I want to transition to, and you don't have to give away you guys' all your secrets and stuff, but like recovery, running, weightlifting, that for strength training, what's your philosophy on that area of the building up a pitcher?
Yeah, so I'll start with weight training. And it's actually one of the boxes we do have to check in our program, and before I'll let you touch weighted balls and plyos and stuff. So the sophomores typically have a little more leeway because, they've had a year with us, that body's matured, they understand what they have to do.
Right.
They're understanding what metrics and stuff they need to hit to know that they're physically healthy and what that arm needs to feel like, and how to handle that routine every day if they are on plyos and weighteds. So like we're going to get all the incoming guys, and get them in the weight room, and we're going to see that baseline. Are you close to deadlifting 400 pounds? Are you squatting twice your body weight? What do your pull-ups and chin-ups look like? And like, are you long tossing 300 feet? So we're going to see what those metrics look like. And you hit those metrics, then we're going to start moving towards some of those things, because last thing I want to do on the pitching side is tell you to be a Ferrari, but deep down you got a smart car engine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want you to try to operate at 1,000 horsepower when you got 54. But just getting furthermore on that weightlifting side, like we want you to be strong. We want you to be physical. Like we don't care that you pitch. Our head guy's a little biased. He's got an arm in the big leagues right now that deadlifted 600 pounds and push pressed 315 over his head and clean and jerked, 350. So that guy probably put a bad a bad level of expectations and a lot of JC arms for our head guy, but it just ensured him in his mind that he doesn't have to be scared to make pitchers lift. So,
Right.
obviously we were smart with it. We don't make guys barbell overhead unless they want to. We try to do a lot of unilateral stuff with kettlebells. And then we're smart about it. I mean, if I've got a 145-pound, pitcher here, even if he's strong enough to deadlift 550, 600 pounds, like at that point, we're way past 3 times, your body weight strength. Like at what point, is that going to do us any good? So we're going to keep it smart, but we're also going to try to get you physical. We're going to try to get you strong. And we do those main lifts. We deadlift, we squat, we floor press instead of bench press, because it's a little bit safer,
Yeah.
on the shoulders and stuff. We do overhead, we do pull-ups, those types of things. And then we have a conditioning style workout that is honestly kind of CrossFit based,
Okay.
but it's different every day that we're in there. One day you might have 25 thrusters, broken up in the 5 rounds of the thrusters, and then 15 burpees over the bar mixed in with 20 box jumps, and then go run a 400 meter. And it's just kind of CrossFit style stuff, but really more conditioning based. And then, that's really how we attack the weight room at it, and as far as recovery and what we do during practice, I probably make guys run the least amount of maybe any junior college in the country.
Yeah.
When we do run, it's sprint based, but I look at it from the point of, pitching is an explosive movement that happens in 4 seconds or less. So if I'm making you do anything that's over 4 seconds, what am I really training you for? It's not to pitch, in terms of that explosiveness. And I could be the idiot in the room when I say this, and that's perfectly fine, but if I go out and, I lift, I run, I can't go out and throw 100 pitches. I have to train my body to throw 100 pitches. Well,
Mhm.
what's the only way I'm going to train my body to throw 100 pitches? And that's to increase pitch count and pitch. So it's one of those things I take that, into our sprinting work and those things there. So, typically we sprint the day we throw a bullpen, and that's really just to flush the body, to work those legs and those explosive movements while we're tired. The day after we pitch, and, maybe one other day a week, depending on what time it is, whether that's fall or spring, or we just haven't run in a bit and I just want to flush the body, but it's never going to be longer than 80 yards. And honestly, a lot of our work is 40, 20, and 10 yards. And the 40 yards even really pushing it because, nobody in the world, maybe Usain Bolt's going to run 4-second flat 40.
Right.
So, we have most of our guys running, in that upper 4 range, the low 5 range. So, 40 yards is really about as long as I want to go. And then recovery wise, it's more of a one size fit all for recovery, just because it's a routine that I've seen with a lot of guys. They recover really well. They aren't as sore as long, and they typically like it. And it's a lot of mixture of explosive movements, a lot of jump based stuff. Does have some sprints in the recovery routine, band work, shoulder tube work, and plyo work. And the plyo work is your typical drive line, type exercises, tramp rebounders, reverse tosses, and that type of stuff. So that's kind of the quick, what the recovery routine looks like without getting super detailed in every single exercise for it.
Right. Now when you guys when you throw like your bullpen stuff, maybe more off season, because obviously you're in season, you track, but how much of that are you like doing velocities to kind of keep track of progress and seeing maybe the load's a little bit too much or not enough, maybe we can keep going and push us a little bit more? Are you guys doing that, or is it more of a feel thing of how you're executing pitches, or is it a mixture of both?
So it's a combo. I'm constantly trying to talk with the guys, and we really track for one reason and one reason only. And that is to allow the guys to understand their actual effort level they're throwing versus their perceived effort level of throwing.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is, if I'm 90-92 in a game, and we get in the bullpen and we try to throw our bullpens at 80%. Okay. I feel that that's our percentage. That's a working percent
Okay.
where I can throw firm enough that I'm working and feeling what I'm actually trying to do, but I also allow my body enough time to recover to go out on game day and be at 100, be at my A game.
Right.
So I want to be able to allow a guy to go, like I said, if I'm 90-92 on game day and I come out in my bullpen and I'm 89-90, am I really at 80%?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. I'm probably a little closer to 95%. So I'm going to take that back down and really try to use the gun to let us know, what that 80% really looks like for a guy.
Right.
And it's different, just to be honest with you, Jericho. I've had an 88-mile an arm that his 80% for him, and it makes no sense logically, math wise and all those things, but his 80% for him was 83, 85, even though he's pitching at 88. And we've had another guy where he's 94, 95. Well, his 80% was 85, 86, because that was the only way that he can make that bullpen be firm enough without throwing it at a go, a full tilt. So it kind of varies from guy to guy. And then there's days where I don't break out the gun. I want it to be, hey, we're far enough down the road. Why am I worried about us having a bullpen, that's got a radar gun in it?
Yeah.
We're here to pitch. We're here to work. We'll worry about what velocity looks like on game day. So it kind of varies, is that mixture. And I really try to base it, on the guy. If it's a guy like our number one that I was telling you about this last year, I mean, I know that guy's going to be 84, 87. I don't really feel like he needs to know how hard he's throwing in the bullpen other
Right.
than, coach, I feel great. I'm not hucking it in there, and we're going to execute pitches and work on trying to get a little more sink and arm side run on the inside fastball here, make our slider do this a little bit better on the outside part of the plate and those types of things. So I try to do as much as I can based on the guy.
Right. Okay, so kind of maybe the last thing to talk about. Do you guys are you guys goal people? Like, you set goals for the kids, or have them set goals, or
Absolutely.
is that
So
like probably a mixture of both? But like, hey, I'm 87 right now. I want to be 90 by the season, or hey, I want to walk less than a guy in an inning, or I want to keep it around 2 per 9 or whatever. Is that kind of a mixture of both? And how do you guys as an individual thing coming up with those?
So it's mixture. We sit down and we tell the guys, up front at our first month of meetings, where we're really diving into our program, how we do things, the classroom type stuff.
Yeah.
Um, we have the guys create, hey, give me 3 individual goals, give me 3 team goals, and we want the individual goals to obviously be more catered to, you know, 2 development and 1 statistical. But sometimes we do have the guys that it's just, hey, coach, here's 3 statistical, and then we'll go over it with those guys and we'll kind of, add anything that we feel is necessary. Like if a guy is just straight statistical, I might say, hey, well, your breaking ball really struggled last year. This was your strike percentage with it. Let's shoot to have my breaking ball at a 65% strike percentage by the end of fall.
Mhm.
You were at 55 last year. Let's try to see if we can make that 10% jump. So we'll do those things like that. But we definitely try to give the guys as much ownership of it as they can, because at the end of the day, man, and I mean, hell, you got kids that are older than mine. Until somebody really thinks of what they're doing as their own, and you know, they own it, they're never really gonna attack it with full force. You know,
Right.
if you're sitting there telling somebody all day, hey, here's what you're doing, here's what you gotta do this, do this, do that. Well, at some point it's just in one ear and out the other. You know, they're just gonna tune you
Moral of that story: listen to us. We know what we're talking
out.
about. Well, hey man, I can't thank you enough. I know you got the little one and taking your time to spend on here and discussing pitching and in your kind of your coaching career. So maybe we'll have you back on later down the road and check in on how the Highlanders are doing. Or what are you guys? The Mustangs?
Chargers.
Chargers. That's right. Okay, Chargers. So we'll have to check in on you and see how you're doing. But I really appreciate it. Always been a good friend and always liked your energy and passion for the game. And I'm sure one day you'll have your own program that'll be fun to watch and see what you guys do with that. But for now, get to that World Series and see where you can go from there.
Thanks, Jericho. Appreciate it for having me, man. This was a blast. Definitely would love to come on again. And, you know, hopefully big things headed for the Chargers. You know, that's the goal, win national title every year.
Right.
You know, so hopefully we can make that happen and, you know, keep doing your thing up there in the big old Northeast with Twins world.
Yeah, we'll try to. If we can get outside.
I hear you, man.
All right, man. I really appreciate it.
Take care and be safe.
All right. See you, Brian.